If people do loot during natural disasters, I wouldn't even care anyway, but the fact of the matter is they are not.
And after weighing the pros and cons, they concluded that the safer option is to run into the fire to steal stuff.
Just when you thought the internet couldn't get worse, they somehow sink to a new low. We've got to talk about the really tragic wildfires that are continuing to just wreak absolute devastation, both on a human and on a physical property level in California, and the pretty bizarre and incredibly disheartening and depressing response that we're seeing in some places in the disaster zones, where people are taking advantage of the chaos and the fact that the authorities have their hands full and looting, breaking into homes and businesses and making off with tons of stuff, taking advantage of the crisis to enrich themselves in one of the most disgraceful things that I've seen in some time. And something you'd think we would all be able to condemn and say, yeah, that's bad. You would be wrong in 2025. Because huge TikTok influencers from the left are telling us that this isn't real and isn't happening, even as we see it unfold before our own eyes. Here's what one woman who styles herself as a news reporter and has more than 600,000 followers on TikTok, here's what she had to say about all the looting that's going on right now.
Let me tell y'all something, okay? If you truly think that people are getting in their vehicles to drive to areas that are actively on fire, to loot homes that have essentially been reduced to ash, I've got beachfront property in Idaho ready for you to buy.
Yes, I do think that because one, that's kind of human nature. Some people are really crappy people and are evil and greedy. And two, we've seen footage of it. They've arrested people caught in the act, but we're crazy, I guess.
They are lying. And every time there's a natural disaster, the conversation about people looting comes up. And to be quite honest, it is a very racialized depiction of looting.
Now, in this TikToker's defense, I have seen some people spreading images online of Black men carrying things and leaving a burning building and saying it's looters, but it turns out they're just homeowners. And that's obviously really horrible. And people should not be spreading information about that without verifying it and making sure that they're not smearing some innocent person. There may be some racialized aspect to it. I don't know. It may also be that certain racial groups are more likely to engage in looting. I don't know. I haven't looked at the data here, but it is real. And I don't care about the race of the people committing it. It's a terrible thing to exploit people during their most vulnerable times to enrich yourself, and it destroys social cohesion and trust. And so I don't care what race they are, they belong behind bars. But apparently we're just imagining this all as part of our racism or something, according to this reporter on TikTok.
During natural disasters, people's first thought isn't, let me go steal from these people whose homes are actively on fire. No, that's not.
It's not most people's response, but it is some people's response. We see this in any natural disaster. Some people take advantage of the chaos to loot. Hurricane Katrina, storms, fires, earthquakes, whatever it may be, people do this. You can't just claim it's not a thing. Like, what?
And to be quite honest with you, if people do loot during natural disasters, I wouldn't even care anyway. But the fact of the matter is they are not.
Shocker. The person who says looting isn't happening also is fine with it. Like, just say you're a leftist who doesn't believe anyone has a right to their own property and go. That would be so much easier.
These homes have been reduced to ash. You have people that are standing in front of their houses that don't even exist anymore. Everything has been burnt down. So the idea that somebody is going to get in a vehicle and pass roads that are blocked off from vehicles to get to homes in a fire zone to steal property that has probably been burnt down is a lie.
Do they not get how this works? Like, imagine prepping a whole video about looting and not understanding. They're not looting the burnt out houses. They're looting the houses that haven't been burnt yet, that people have evacuated because the fire is coming. That's not that hard a concept to grasp, is it?
And it's a bold-faced lie. And the racialized aspect of it cannot be ignored.
Okay, you're just ignoring the whole thing, telling us it's not a problem, despite the ample news reporting on it and the fact that they've caught many people in the act. Take a listen to this clip from CBS News, for example.
Police across the area are also on high alert for looters out here. They have already arrested nearly 24 people inside evacuation areas.
I love my neighbors, And it's like, you feel guilty because I survived. I couldn't save the whole block.
But even as he worked to put out hotspots, another threat emerged: looters. He says he and a neighbor have chased off 2 groups attempting to break into the homes still standing.
What kind of person, what kind of human being would take advantage of somebody at that point? It's just like, I don't even want to say what I would do, but it's shocking.
This was the view from Jonathan Esham's home Tuesday as the Eaton fire raced towards it. He evacuated, and while the fire stayed out, it appears someone tried to break in, busting out a window and trying to pry this one open.
The idea that somebody could have been in your house while you guys were evacuated.
It's horrifying.
A horror disgustingly man-made in the middle of this massive natural disaster.
Liberal-leaning media outlets like the LA Times have reported as well on the dozens of people who've already been arrested for looting in California. Like, take your pick of your media source. It's not just right-wing media reporting this. It's just what's happening. They've also even caught some people dressing up as firefighters and then going around and looting and using that as a disguise. Take a listen to this police official explaining.
When I was out there in the Malibu area, I saw a gentleman that looked like a firefighter, and I asked him if he was okay because he was sitting down. I didn't realize we had him in handcuffs. We were turning him over to LAPD because he was dressed like a fireman, and he was not. He just got caught burglarizing a home.
And they have images of this dude in a firefighter costume, and he's not a firefighter. Like, this isn't fake. This was just one of many videos, maybe the most popular one, but I searched and I found tons of videos saying looting is not happening. This is just police propaganda. This is just the government trying to distract from their failures. And look, I don't think we should only talk about looting. Obviously, there's so many other issues surrounding this, like environmental policies, like controlled burns, like the wildfire prevention policies, all the things that go into this, what the situation with water and the reservoirs, the fire department and some of the crazy stuff going on there. All of this stuff is totally legit, but everyone's still talking about that. Talking about looting also happening and being a problem doesn't mean you can't also talk about those other things. Like, that's not a valid point, and you only discredit yourself as somebody who could raise awareness about those other issues, including climate change, like people are very concerned about. And I don't think anybody really disputes that climate change makes these problems worse, potentially. I think people who are claiming that's the cause for this are ignoring much more directly impactful policies at the state and local level that account for this kind of thing, I think, on a much more significant basis. But you could talk about all these things, but instead you're saying looting isn't real, even though we have the evidence right before us for our own eyes. Like, you're just annihilating your own credibility in what? Pursuit of some leftist political ideology? It's like, I don't know. I have very strong ideological beliefs, but I don't know that I could ever, or I certainly hope I would never, be driven to the point of just denying reality because of them. Like, that's when you've lost the plot. Now, some people online are not denying that looting is happening, but simply suggesting instead that it's actually good and fine and understandable. Take a listen to this interesting take.
I want to take a minute to talk about looting, because I think it's worth considering why people would run into an active fire to steal stuff, rather than fleeing the fire. And it seems like in the media coverage that I'm listening to, that people think that people are just like greedy who want to be looting. And I'm just wondering if maybe these people have actually considered whether it is safer for them to run into a fire or to continue to exist within capitalism without access to resources. And after weighing the pros and cons, they concluded that the safer option is to run into the fire to steal stuff. Because you never see like Elon or Jeff or Mark running into a fire to steal stuff, because they don't have to run into a fire to steal stuff. They can just steal from their workers via wage theft, and that's legal within capitalism. So if we want people to stop looting, I'm wondering if maybe the solution isn't to have more police, but rather to have a system where people don't feel like it's a better option to run into a fire.
So there's a lot of Delulu to unpack there, but just for one quick thing, wage theft is actually a thing. It refers to when employers don't pay their employees what they're owed under law. But despite what this person is claiming, wage theft is illegal. It's a crime, and businesses can and do get in trouble for it. It's not allowed under capitalism. You're just wrong. And to the original point of this video, yes, we do think that people are greedy. I think everyone is basically greedy in the sense that they're self-interested to some degree, but some people are particularly greedy and have no shame and no concern for their fellow citizens or no problem screwing over their neighbors. Yes, some people are bad and have bad intentions. It's like progressives like this person seem to think that everybody is just sweethearted and kind at their core, and then just the evil forces of the world like capitalism force their hand into doing bad things. No, actually, some people are bad, really. And that's the way the world works. That's the way human nature works. And this perspective on things just strikes me as totally delusional and naive and utopian in a truly dangerous way. And I'm sorry, but people are not stealing jewelry from homes or raiding stores for flat screen TVs because they need resources to survive. Not that that would make it okay anyway, but no, they're doing so to make a quick buck at the cost of society and their neighbors getting stolen from, and they don't care. It's not that they're stealing bread to feed their starving children or anything like that. And for all you know, honestly, there's plenty of resources available to them through California's massive welfare state. They are not starving in the street and then just forced because of intense poverty, because of capitalism, to go steal flat screen TVs. That's not reality. All of these videos, all of these takes are just totally out of touch with reality. And it's coming at such a terrible time to be piling on and encouraging this harmful social behavior. We should be banding together as a country to support victims and people who've had their lives upended and destroyed. We should be talking about real solutions to prevent issues like this or reduce their frequency and severity. And yes, we should be talking about cracking down and punishing the bad actors who exploit these situations to make things worse, like looters. But instead, half the internet seems to want to deny the reality of this problem because they just ideologically are predisposed to sympathizing with people who want to take other people's stuff, and also arguing that it's good and that socially harmful crimes are actually fine and dandy or just the fault of evil, greedy capitalists. Like, no, babe, stop. Now, I do want to show you one video I found. And the unfortunate thing about TikTok is, of course, this woman's video got like 500 views or whatever. Barely anyone saw it. And the other ones got tons of views and likes and comments and shares. But this one lady, I actually thought had a take on it that was just chef's kiss.
Officials are planning a 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. curfew because people are looting. That caught me so off guard. Literally, people's houses are burning to the ground, to ashes. People are losing everything. I can't imagine in this whole wildfire situation, the first thing in somebody's sick mind is to run into somebody else's house that's literally burning with all the shit that they work so hard for, to go and steal. Are you people mad? Every single day I wake up and I understand that, like, we're not the same species. Me and some of these human beings, we don't got the same batch number. We don't got the same serial number. We don't got the same nothing. Y'all are not human beings. In this whole horrible, devastating situation, the first thing you can think of is to go and steal? Are you mad?
She had me gagged with the "we're not the same species," but I do agree. And I thought it was funny the way that she put it. I just can't relate to somebody who would go and exploit their community at its most vulnerable time, or drive to another community they're not even a part of and exploit people at their most vulnerable time. Like, you have to be the lowest of the low. It's a truly sick thing to do. And I am glad that some people, like this woman at least, still have the common sense in California to call this out and to advocate for a sane approach to recovering from this tragedy.